variables that you can control. There's so many things with fishing that you can't control, from plugs to coils to a motor going out or a trolling motor going out or a leak in your boat or the weather. You know, all of that you can't control. When the things you can control are your equipment, your line, your rods, your reels, your hooks. And that's one of the things that, especially when it comes into landing the big fish or landing the winning fish, to make sure that you've got what it takes, you know, equipment wise, to land it. You know, have you been making 150 casts and caught 6 fish on, say, a double horse, and you didn't retie yet? You get a 6-pounder on, it pulls hard enough, pops your knot, and you about have a come apart. But if you'd have taken the time to sit down, take a break, cut your line, put a new knot, have a fresh, there he is. I was asking where you were. I was missing you. And I was sitting there thinking, you know, if you make those small adjustments, those small, you know, things that help you land that fish. It's the little things, the very littlest things, and I'll tell you why. Not only equipment, but your brain as well. You know, when you're throwing a 6-4 or a 5-4, you're throwing a crankbait. Okay, you want a lower gear ratio to throw crankbaits, like the deep crankbaits. You want something that the lower the gear ratio, the easier it is to reel with the, like if you're throwing a DT6 or, you know, Lucky Strike Freak, or a really one that dives down to like 20 foot, you want like a 5-4 to gear ratio. Because I can promise you at noon, you're going to be absolutely dead with like a 6-3, 6-4, something like that, because it's so much strain on you and on your reel. Your reel's not going to last as long. So deeper crankbaits, you want a lower gear ratio. They've come out with a gear ratio of a 6-8. A 6-8 is in between a 6-4 and a 7-1. And those were kind of the main gear ratios. A 6-4 or a 6-8, you want to use, I used to think, man, throw it out there and get it in real fast. Worm fishing, if you're throwing a Senko style bait, anything that you're working along the bottom, a jig that you're working real slow and that you're just making standard casts with by trees. 6-4 gear ratio is the best all around gear ratio that they make. 6-4, 6-8, somewhere in that range. Because if you get to the 8-1s or 7-1s, it's too fast. And it's hard to get that bait. You know, I found that I was fishing too fast. I was like, man, why am I not catching as many fish down here throwing to these lily pads as I used to? Something's just not right. And I did. What I found out is that bait, when you reel that turn, that bait goes under the water. It goes from moving this much to now you're moving it this much. And when you're in dark water, tannic water like you guys fish here, especially down in Florida, if you move it out of that strike zone, you're going to get less bites. So I went to a smaller gear. I went back to what I used to use when I was 16, 17, 18, 20, into that. And then because they didn't make 7-to-1 gear ratios then, when they came out with the new gear ratios, of course, yeah, you want a faster reel, you're going to get it out there and get it in. There's places for it. But if you're fishing, you know, slow and the bite's a little bit slow and you're wanting to kind of be precise, go with the lower gear ratio. 7-to-1s or this new 8-to-1 they came out with, frog, whopper plopper, that's what you want. You're going to go through them a little bit more because the higher the gear ratio, the less durable the reel. It's not going to last as long because it's just winding that much more. You're putting that much more strain on it. The reason for the speed with the spinning rod, there is not a hook, for me, there's not a hook set. It's a constant, because you're throwing braided line. And when you get that bite, you're getting a tight line, and you never want to jerk braided line like this. You always want it to be a pull. So when you get that bite and you get a tight line, and right before you know that fish is going to feel you, just
Welcome to Bass University TV, an online video training course where you'll learn champion bass fishing techniques from pro anglers Pete Glusek, Mike Iaconelli, and their talented special guests. From on the water to in the classroom, you'll learn sound techniques and strong fundamental bass fishing skills. Watch hours of video content on multiple topics at your own pace for a low monthly fee. Cancel at any time. Information is power in the sport of fishing, so learn from the very best. Subscribe to Bass University TV today.